everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make a quick bread, specifically how to make muffins. Quick breads don't require yeast for leavening or for rising. They require other things like baking powder, which is what we'll be using today. Examples of quick breads besides muffins are popovers, cream puffs, biscuits, waffles, pancakes, that sort of thing. So I'm going to show you today we're making muffins, as I stated before. So here are the ingredients that you'll need for your muffins. You have your dry ingredients right here. Usually that requires flour, sugar, and other mixes you need, salt or sugar, like in this case nutmeg. Then we have our wet ingredients. We have an egg, we have our fat and milk that we're using for this particular recipe. They all have a purpose. The gluten is really based in the flour that provides the structure, and I'm going to go over that in a minute of how to avoid over manipulating or under manipulating so that your muffin has a perfect texture and shape. So what you'll want to do first, I put them all just separately in their own bowls just so it's easier to see. Alright, so I've mixed the dry ingredients first, and it's important to make sure that the baking powder and the flour are mixed really well together, because if they are, it creates uniform gas cells in the crumb structure, so it gives it the right structure. That's important for a good muffin. Now for the wet ingredients, I did them separately because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to mix the dry ingredients first. So for the egg, it's important that the egg is blended well in order for everything to go smoothly with the muffin. So I just whisked it a little bit first. And then this is just the butter and milk mixture. So I'm gonna put the egg in there and just mix it for a second. Make sure it gets blended well together. I've officially placed the wet ingredients in with the dry ingredients. This is important to where you need to not over mix or under mix. You really just want to mix it enough for the batter, everything to kind of just get moistened. So you don't want to, it doesn't have to be like super liquidy. It actually probably still will be pretty lumpy. So I'm going to mix this one appropriately. I'll show you the end result, and then I will I'll separate it and over mix it to see how that looks. So as you can see, the batter is still lumpy, but everything is moistened and together, so there aren't really a lot of dry flour bits in there. So then I'm going to separate it and put it in there, and then I will over mix it, and we'll see kind of the effects of that in a second. I just want to compare the two mixes. So this one is the one that is still a little bit lumpy, but that's kind of how it's supposed to be. That means that the gluten won't form too much. This one looks a lot more like cake batter. It's pretty smooth. I don't see a lot of lumps. And so kind of what can happen, which we'll probably see, a muffin should be uniform in top. It should be, not too domed, and the inside should just have a nice crumbly structure, uniform air cells, everything. But with an over mixed batter, there'll probably be a lot of tunneling, really high peak, high dome on top. And it will just not be the same and just be have a lot more air pockets in it, because the gluten will develop much more with the agitation from the mixing. So I'm going to bake these and we'll be able to see what they look like. So I finished baking both sets of muffins. So as you can kind of see, there's a pretty big difference. So this one is the first one, the proper amount of mixing. It's a nice even top, not too large. The air bubbles are pretty uniform and consistent. The texture isn't crumbly, it's tender. There isn't a lot of tunneling either. So this is what happens when you just wet the ingredients together. No over mixing, the batter is still pretty lumpy. So, but these you can kind of tell what happened. So this muffin is just along the same size as this one, but the dome is way more round and peaked. There's also a lot of tunneling here in the middle, and it's pretty crumbly. The muffin's kind of almost falling apart a little bit. And the same here. This one was a little bit smaller, but it's very crumbly, and there's a lot of severe tunneling there. So just to review really fast, quick breads include muffins, popovers, cream puffs, biscuits, waffles, or pancakes. The leavening in the quick breads is not yeast, so that doesn't make it rise. It can be baking powder, baking soda, and an acid together. Steam, if you put water in it, and when you bake it, the steam will cause it to rise, or just air, if you fold in air for certain recipes. And then again, just to review, the key is to make sure that you mix the dry ingredients first, then the wet ingredients separately, put them in together as one, but do not overmix, just wet the ingredients. The batter still may be lumpy, but that's totally fine. It shouldn't be completely smooth like cake mix.